What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys in the video. Today we're doing Wolf Minato's in Kirigakure part 6. In the last part, we took an in-depth look at the training of the Genin in preparation for the exams. Sasuke retrieved training from Jiraiya, learning better chakra control as well as the summoning jutsu. As for Naruto, he ended up training with Utakata and Hotaru, learning the Rasengan in the month, which is where we left off. Naturally, the Mist Village Ninja would head off to the Leaf with the exception of Suigetsu's team. They didn't win, and they would rather sit at home bored than watch Naruto gloat the entire way there. Kisame would still go, however, as a guard for the Mizukage. Naruto ended up meeting with Zabuza and Haku, as well as his mother and Kisame, asking where Kimimaro is. They all give each other looks before telling Naruto that Kimimaro had other matters to attend to, covering his illness. This would annoy Naruto, but Haku reassures him, lying to him that he tells him that Kimimaro said he'll try and stop by to watch them fight. They then all head off to the Leaf. They'd arrive and enter the stands, ready for the fights to occur. Also, Sasuke won't be late here, just FYI. Since it's been 2 parts and since it has changed, we'll restate the bracket, being Sasuke vs Lee, Mizume vs Gaara, Neji vs Dosu, Shikamaru vs Haku, Kiba vs Naruto, Hinata vs Temari. So let's waste no time and jump into the first fight. Sasuke and Lee would enter the arena against each other, remaining on guard as they size up their opponent. They fought before, but neither know what the other was holding back. The moment the fight begins, Sasuke leaps into the air, throwing smoke bombs all over the field to blind his opponent. He'd enter the smoke and immediately activates his Sharingan, locating Lee's chakra, giving him the advantage. With wanting to preserve chakra as well as wanting not to go near Lee, Sasuke begins throwing kunais at him. Despite not having any way to see, Lee would begin avoiding the weapons, feeling the air change ever so slightly while they draw near. After seeing the direction they came from, Lee rushes straight towards Sasuke, which he would notice. He'd take to the air yet again to get some distance and get to a vantage point. As he leaps up though, he's hit hard by heavy weights being thrown at him like any other ninja tool. It stops his momentum and wins him, leaving him helpless as Lee begins a taijutsu barrage, leaving Sasuke face down on the ground. The smoke would subside, leaving Sasuke and Lee facing each other yet again. The duo then lunge at each other, getting into a taijutsu fight, which is surprisingly even. His movements begin to replicate Lee's, which allows him to hold his own. Combined with how easily he can walk on walls and trees, as well as his quick wit, Sasuke is able to actually take the lead of the fight. Lee would smile, telling Sasuke that he's glad he's as strong as he thought he'd be. Now though, he's going to go all out, opening the first and second gate, making the majority of his wounds dissipate. When the duo begin exchanging blows yet again, it's quite clear that Lee's strength has gone up by a significant rate. Regardless, Sasuke is still able to react and adapt to Lee in this form, though he is having more difficulty in doing so. It makes Lee realize that he needs to go all out. He'd open the 3rd through 5th gate, making a green aura burst out. The audience is left in awe, looking at the boy pulling off such an S-class jutsu. His body vanishes from everyone's sight, with the only indication of him still being there being Sasuke's body getting ragdolled around the arena. Sasuke be thrown from wall to wall as he gets brief glimpses of Lee moving to attack. Every blow becomes clearer to him, but so does the pain inflicted onto him. His eyes will begin to understand Lee's fighting style, even easier, allowing Sasuke to mimic his moves, though he can't move as fast or attack as easy. With his body beginning to ache, Lee decides that he needs to finish the fight now. He attacks Sasuke with a reverse lotus technique, beginning to attack from all angles as he wraps Sasuke up in his bandages. While some blows connect, Sasuke seemingly dodges the others. His movements seem random as he merely guesses Lee's next attack and reacts to one of Lee's movements. Lee would manage to wrap Sasuke in the bandages, beginning to spiral towards the ground as the duo tumble like a rocket. Reacting quickly, Sasuke would begin to do hand signs, making his mouth fill up with flames. He grabs a kunai and cuts himself free from Lee's grasp as he uses the Phoenix Flower Jutsu, igniting the bandages, making Lee ignite in the process. When he hits the ground, he's unable to continue battling, giving Sasuke the win. The next fight is Mizume vs Gaara. Gaara wins, obviously. After that though is Neji vs Dosu. Being as overconfident as he is, Neji asks Dosu why he doesn't forfeit now and save him another loss at his hands. Dosu merely glares at him, telling him that he shouldn't be so cocky. His eyes might be able to see everywhere, but yet he's still blinded. When the fight begins, Neji activates his Byakugan, analyzing Dosu. He merely just stands there however. doesn't even move to turn his sound amplifier on as he stands there lifeless. Offended at the laziness his opponent shows, Neji moves in and hits Dosu across the chest, using the gentle fist. His ears then begin to ring out in pain, allowing Dosu to slash at Neji with a kunai, almost cutting his eyes clean out. Dosu remarks he figured out a way to give sound to his chakra. Neji wants to hurt him, he'll do more damage to himself in the process. This really annoys Neji, as his main way of fighting has been made his greatest weakness. The fight would be a long drawn out one, with Dosu slowly taking Neji down using ninja weapons and taijutsu. Even Neji's rotation would be made useless, as Dosu can simply amplify the sound it makes. So ultimately, Dosu would win this fight with Neji. Next up is Shikamaru vs Haku. The moment the fight begins, neither one of them would move as they size up their opponent. Leaves the audience bored and confused, they just watch them standing there. Almost as if planned, Haku and Shikamaru make their first move in unison. Haku would use his 1,000 flying water needles of death, making hand signs as quick as possible. Shikamaru on the other hand would leap backwards and begin maneuvering, barely avoiding the water jutsu. His focus would be on the water needles, meaning he doesn't notice a senbon hit him in the legs, making him tumble behind a tree. Using his speed, Haku would be here behind Shikamaru, holding senbon to his throat as he tells him to cry uncle. That's when his body freezes as Shikamaru uses the shadow possession, wielding the shade of the tree to his advantage. Haku would break out the jutsu using his signature ice mirrors, surrounding Shikamaru as well as erasing the shade he was using, making Shikamaru's own shadow the only darkness that remains. Using quick speed attacks, Haku would begin slashing at Shikamaru, making him begin slowly bleeding and weakening. To try and do something, Shikamaru would use shadow possession on his own body, covering himself in shadow, waiting for Haku to make contact again to paralyze him. Haku would stop however, realizing what Shikamaru was doing. Makes Inara smirk, realizing that he's truly outmatched, leading to him forfeiting the fight. Next up would be Naruto against Kiba. As Naruto enters the arena, everyone would be on the edge of their seat, watching as the son of two Mizukage enter the arena. Kiba would be smiling, thanking Naruto for this opportunity. It'll look great for the girls when he wins. Plus if he can beat the Mizukage's son, he can definitely beat the Hokage's. He's then annoyed when Naruto's ignoring him, merely listening to the crowd with a smile. Genma would then announce that the fight has begun. Immediately, Naruto would change his demeanor, grabbing the hilt of his blade as he rushes at Kiba, almost cutting his head clean off. The duo engage in some taijutsu with Kiba being placed on the defensive, relying on Akamaru's help to get in a few good hits. While Kiba isn't exactly smart, luckily enough he can remember previous fights in the tournament. Deploying a strategy from his rival, Kiba throws a smoke bomb out which blinds Naruto. This is Kiba's ideal scenario as he and Akamaru can smell him through that smoke, plus he can move quick enough so he can't track the location. Despite not having his eyes, Naruto is still able to fend the duo off using his coral as blockades, as well as counters to Kiba and Akamaru, since they can't actually see it, leading to them having to be more cautious of the hazards. When the smoke subsides, Kiba decides to go for his ultimate gambit. He'd use the human mimicry and beast mimicry, in tandem with the Shadow Clone jutsu, placing Naruto in a 3-on-1 fight. Combined with a down on all fours jutsu, it leaves Naruto at speed and numbers disadvantage. It leaves him wishing he knew a jutsu like that. The trio of Kiba begin attacking Naruto, and initially they manage to get some good damage on him. While he can fend them off with his blade and coral, it can only get him so far. With the damage he sustained, Naruto needs a strategy and quick. If only he had time to think. Using his blade, Naruto began darting around, creating as much coral as possible, higher than any of the Kiba's eyes can track. He then used the coral to use the transformation jutsu, becoming Kiba, similar to his plan in canon. When they all unite though, this would go somewhat differently. Kiba would be smarter here under the two religious Shisui, so I imagine he could think of a simple solution. He declared that they're going to use the ultimate technique, leading to the three of them landing in a line, outing Naruto as a fake. The Kibas would all get some distance from each other as they run up the walls, building momentum. And on this next attack decides it, Naruto would place out his palm and begins to knead chakra as best he can. Hopefully, this will give him the win. The Kibas all unite in the air and begin to spin rapidly, allowing gravity to drag them down to earth straight towards their target. They let out a shout of ultimate Inuzuka technique, fang over fang over fang. On the ground, Naruto shouts the name of his signature technique, the Rasengan. He leaps into the air, aiming the chakra orb up to the spiral, clashing intensely. A massive shockwave is immediately created as a bright flash of light blinds the audience, causing great damage to the arena. When everyone's vision returns, they see Kiba and Akamaru laying there in a crater, unable to fight, with Naruto standing over them. He has taken the W, leading to an audience uproar. He'd ignore their cheers though, congratulating Kiba on a good fight as he helps him up. The next fight is Hinata vs Tamari, but that fight can merely be glossed over. Hinata would simply lose. She still went near Tamari's strength, but she has nothing to combat a long-range fighter. There would be a slight interlude between rounds 1 and 2, allowing people to receive some medical attention, and ultimately for everyone to prepare for the next fight being Sasuke vs Gaara. For the most part, that fight goes the same though, all the way until Sasuke uses the Chidori in canon. Instead, he merely uses Summon, who I have decided to dub Gamatora, making the toad use a water release jutsu to dampen the sand, allowing Sasuke to break through it. Gaara would then start berserking out, leading to Konoha Crush. How will that go in this timeline? You'll have to find out next time, because that's when we leave it here. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment down below what's happened in part 7. This series has become a favourite of mine, and I really hope we can finish it before I get bored. And yeah, bye!